There is a feeling you know well. It arrives in the quiet moments. You finally sit down. The work is done, or at least it's enough for now. Your body sinks into the chair, a wave of tiredness washing over you. And then it comes. Not peace, but a quiet prickling in your chest, a sense of unease. A voice, not loud but persistent, begins to list the things you are not doing, the tasks that remain, the ways you could be better, faster, ahead. The rest you so deeply need feels stolen, illicit, like you're getting away with something. And so you get back up. Or you stay sitting, but the stillness is filled with a buzzing anxiety, a guilt that taints the very rest you crave. Why does your own mind turn against you in these moments? Why can you feel guilty for being tired, for needing the very thing that sustains you? This is more than just a busy schedule. It's a specific kind of exhaustion, one layered with self-reproach. You move through your days with a silent tally running in the back of your mind. Items checked off bring a fleeting relief, but the unchecked ones have a heavier weight. They cling to you. So you learn to move faster, to squeeze in one more task in the stolen minutes. You feel a peculiar sense of virtue in the weariness, as if the depth of your fatigue is proof of your worth. Your identity becomes tangled with productivity. I am what I accomplish. To stop accomplishing then feels like disappearing. It affects the smallest decisions. Choosing to watch a show, you reach for your phone to scroll through emails, multitasking your leisure into a form of work. A friend asks how you are, and you list your tasks instead of your feelings. Your self-talk is a manager's voice, cool and assessing, never a friend's voice offering comfort. The relationship with yourself becomes transactional. You must earn your own peace. But what if this isn't a personal failing of willpower or gratitude? What if it is in fact a learned adaptation, a system your mind built for a reason? Think of a garden that only ever grew in one type of soil under a relentless sun. It never learned the rhythm of fallow seasons, of rain, of rest. It believes survival is constant bloom. Your mind, in a world that often rewards constant output, has been shaped by that same belief. The guilt is not a flaw in your character. It is a misguided alarm system. It is the echo of an old lesson, overlearned until it became your default setting. You are not broken for feeling this. You are adapted to a broken rhythm. To understand why this feeling is so stubborn, we need to look at the machinery of motivation. Deep in your brain, there is a simple, powerful system, often called the see, do, get loop. You see a cue, you do a behavior, you get a reward. This is powered by a neurochemical called dopamine. It's not just the pleasure chemical, it's the anticipation and motivation chemical. It surges not when you get the reward, but when you take the action that leads to it. It makes the doing feel compelling, urgent, good. Now imagine you have spent years training the system. The cue is a thought of something unfinished. The behavior is work. The reward is a brief hit of dopamine, that sense of relief, of progress, of being a good and productive person. You have built a neural highway where productivity is the only route to a dopamine destination. Rest, however, offers no clear cue, no defined doing, and crucially, it has not been reliably paired with a reward. In fact, if you've learned to rest only after collapse, rest may be paired with the reward of pain relief, which is a different, less motivating signal. So, your brain, wired for efficiency, defaults to the well-paved road. It prompts you back to work, because that's the known path to a chemical reward. The guilt is the cognitive echo of that chemical pull. It's your brain, confused, asking, why are we leaving the rewarding path for this unknown, unrewarding territory? Think of your mind as having two gardeners. One is the planner. The planner loves lists, order, future goals. It plants seeds for next season. It builds trellises. It is always thinking ahead. The other is the presence keeper. The presence keeper doesn't plant or build. It tends to the soil itself. It feels the sun, listens to the wind, watches the way the light falls on a single leaf. It sustains the ground from which everything grows. In a culture that prizes the planner, we have forgotten the presence keeper. We feel guilty when the planner is idle, not understanding that the presence keeper's essential work is look-like stillness. Your guilt is the planner, anxious and unemployed, mistaking the presence keeper's essential work for idleness.
So how do you retrain this system? How do you make rest feel not like a deviation, but a vital part of the path? It begins not with forcing yourself to relax, but with understanding the rules of your own nervous system. The first step is to decouple your worth from your output. This is a psychological shift, not just an affirmation. Your brain has a network called the default mode network. It activates when you are not focused on a task, when your mind wanders. This is not a do-nothing network. It is where you integrate experiences, make sense of your life, and cultivate a sense of self that is separate from your actions. To weaken the guilt, you must consciously activate this network and associate it with safety, not anxiety. So practice doing nothing, on purpose, for a very short time. Sit for 3 minutes with no goal, no podcast, no music, no scrolling. Your planner brain will scream. That's the guilt alarm. Your job is not to silence it, but to observe it. You are showing your brain that this state does not lead to danger. Each time you do this, you are creating a new, faint trail in the neural undergrowth. You are teaching the system that non-doing is also a valid state. For example, after finishing a work task, instead of immediately jumping to the next, stand up and look out the window for 90 seconds. Do not plan what to make for dinner. Just look. The sky. A tree. The way the light hits the building across the street. You are not doing anything productive. You are feeding the presence keeper and showing the planner that the world does not fall apart in 90 seconds of stillness. The second step is to schedule rest as a non-negotiable appointment, but with a crucial twist. Define its purpose not as recharging for work, but as experiencing being alive. This is a cognitive reframe that changes the reward structure. If you rest only to work better, you are keeping rest in the transactional productivity loop. It remains a means to an end, and the guilt can persist because it's just another form of work prep. Instead, choose an activity whose only purpose is present moment engagement. The psychological mechanism here is called intrinsic motivation. You are engaging in an activity for the experience itself, not for a separable outcome. This generates a different quality of attention and a different, more sustainable kind of reward, one not tied to dopamine-driven achievement, but to other neurochemicals like serotonin and endorphins associated with contentment and calm. So, for 20 minutes, do something that has no outcome. Don't go for a run to be healthy. Go for a walk to feel the air on your skin. Don't read a book to be knowledgeable. Read a few pages to savor the turn of a phrase. The moment the planner brain intrudes with "this is making you better at your job," gently acknowledge the thought and return to the sensation. You are not resting to produce. You are resting to experience. The third step is the most counterintuitive. Practice incomplete. Deliberately leave a task unfinished and walk away. The anxiety this causes is the guilt in its purest form. It's the see-do-get loop interrupted. You saw the cue, the unfinished task, but you are choosing not to do the behavior. By tolerating this anxiety, you are performing a kind of exposure therapy for your productivity-wired brain. You are proving through experience that the catastrophic feeling, "everything will fall apart if I don't finish this now," is a prediction error. The world does not end, the task waits, and you build what psychologists call distress tolerance. Your brain learns that the urge to complete is just that, an urge, not a command. So write an email and leave it in your drafts. Wash the dishes, but leave one pot in the sink. Walk away from your desk with a sentence half written. Sit with the itch it creates. Breathe into the tightness in your chest. You are not being irresponsible. You are being a scientist, running an experiment to test a faulty brain prediction. You are gathering evidence that you are more than your to-do list. The fourth step is to redefine what work looks like for the presence keeper. The planner's work is linear and goal-oriented. The presence keeper's work is circular and state-oriented. It is the work of integration. This can be as simple as a daily review, but not of tasks, a review of feelings, of small sensations, of moments of connection or beauty. The psychological mechanism here is memory consolidation and emotional processing. When you do this, you are transferring experiences from the short-term reactive parts of your brain into the long-term narrative structures. You are making meaning, which is the antidote to feeling like a machine. At the end of the day, ask yourself not what did I get done, but what did I notice? Did you notice the warmth of the coffee cup, the tone of a friend's voice, a surprising moment of quiet in the afternoon? By naming these, you are assigning value to the experiences that happen between the tasks. You are telling your brain, this data is also important. This is also part of the work of a life.
Imagine your energy, not as a single tank of fuel, but as a council of voices. Each voice represents a different need. The need for accomplishment, the need for connection, the need for beauty, the quiet. The guilt you feel is the voice of accomplishment, shouting over all the others, convinced it is the only important one. The practice of true rest is not about silencing that voice. It is about inviting the other members of the council to speak, to listen to the soft voice that wants to stare out the window, to honor the quiet voice that just wants to feel the sun. It is a daily practice of democratic attention. You are not abandoning your responsibilities, you are assuming a deeper one, the responsibility of tending to the entirety of your human experience. The exhaustion that carries guilt is a sign that you have been listening to a single story about what makes a life worthwhile. It is a story of output, of legacy, of constant growth. But there is another story, written in the language of neural pathways and chemical rewards, a story that says you are built not just for doing, but for being, for integrating, for feeling the profound simplicity of a moment that demands nothing from you. This shift will not happen in a day. You will reach for your phone. The list will whisper. The old guilt will return, familiar as an old coat. But now you can see it for what it is. A habit of mind, a well-worn path, and you know now that other paths exist, faint at first, leading to a different kind of clearing. So you take a breath, you feel the weight of your body on the chair, you let the planner's voice chatter on in the distance, and you turn, just for a moment, toward the quiet keeper of your own presence. You are not resting because you are done, you are resting because you are alive, and that, all by itself, is enough.